Now I'm super self-conscious about this hilarious, funny voice that our audience has commented that I do. Wonderful. This episode is accidentally brought to you by Pabst Blue Ribbon beer. Say what you will about this beer, but some people have rated it awful to fucking awful. Let's start the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Designers Are the Worst, your new least favorite show about an exclusively visual medium cleverly brought to you in an audio format. My name is Matt Salick and I am a design man.
I don't know why the intro makes me laugh every time, but my name is
Because it's
Marcus.
very structured, and that's the only thing about talking
The
to me that's
design man?
structured.
Yeah.
Oh, the design man, yeah.
Yeah. My name is Marcus Farrell, and I'm also a design man. And I'm co-hosting this about... Co-host hosting?
He's a white cis man.
I have a new rule. I don't like audiences.
Yeah, so today we're joined by our life mates. And
It sounded terrible without an Australian accent.
It's also really optimistic. Life is long.
well, for your life.
Oh, no.
I got plans after. So we have guests in the intro part of the show today because it would be awkward if we talked in front of them, and there's no way that they wouldn't talk while we were talking. So welcome, everybody. First, we'll introduce my wife, not in a specific accent from a movie that we all love, which I got a compliment on that, on my restraint, from a friend that came in last week. He said, I'm loving the Borat voice. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. He's like, I know you are.
Yeah, you are.
You held off last week, and that was it.
Oh, it's so hard.
You almost did it.
I know, you just want it. Yeah. Anyway, so I'd like to introduce you to my life mate. Her name is Ryann, and we are a married couple. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Marcus, would you like to introduce your life mate?
Sure. My life mate, non-married.
Marcus is married. His life mate is not. His wife is not here.
He doesn't know about it. And my partner in crime, her name is Jennifer. Say hello.
Hello.
And the crime is always child pornography.
No. That is...
No.
Do you think it's weird that we weren't allowed to say our own names?
We were introducing.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
It's like introducing to another human.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Introducing a dog to a snowman.
Fucking hell.
It's like,
It makes no sense because nobody else is here. But you are listening. Thank you for listening again. Yeah. So today we're going to be talking. Oh, right.
Sorry, I was just going to say yes. And the reason why we have an audience and that they are here is very specific. Because we are talking about living with a terrible designer.
Yep. And it could be a decent designer that just is a terrible person.
True.
Yep. So we're going to talk about that in a little while. Yep. Should be good.
Yeah, should be really good.
We're just realizing now that I invited my wife on the show to say all the ways that I've been annoying over the past 13 years. So this should be a real eye-opener. And
Cool,
the thing-
another 3-hour episode.
And the thing I'm learning while I edit the podcast, and I'm the only one that technically has to listen to it, is that the thing about self-discovery is that it's always negative. Like, oh, I have a beautiful voice. You're like, oh, it looks like I'm in Kermit the Frog, like swallowing a bagel whole. Like it just sounds weird. So I'm sure we're going to learn lots of cool stuff today.
Is that from when you were looking at the audio waves?
thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, I can see it.
It's like the third time you've referenced looking at the audio.
Well, I do in my professional grade recording equipment. I look at the audio waves. I read a bunch of articles on stuff, so I can use GarageBand better than I could have before.
That's true. Thank you, Internet. We were down in Seattle area this past weekend.
And you were there for music purposes?
For music purpose primarily,
Mm-hmm.
to go to the Capitol Hill block party, which we've been to a few times. This year felt like the biggest gong show because we won. Well, Jenn won VIP passes, and so we ended up just using those when we were down there.
Mm-hmm.
But their VIP area didn't have a view of any of the stages.
That was kind of like Rifflandia, the music festival here in Victoria. Ryan and I did a poster for the show. So we got VIP passes, and it was so far back from the crowd and the stage that you had your own private outhouse and your own private bar that you still had to buy all the drinks at regular price, but you were 200 feet from the stage. So it was great.
I did get my head shaved though for a reasonable price.
Yeah, and
in a lightning storm.
yeah.
So that was cool.
So what was the big perk of the VIP thing at the Capitol Hill deal?
Drink tickets.
Free
That's
one?
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get 3 for each day, and but then they only had 2 servers for the entire area.
What
Oh.
an amazing selection.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Is you offer you have too many.
Wine in a can. Have you had wine in a
Oh
can?
my God. I bought it just for a joke once and it was wine in a can. That's all I have to say about
It's a
that.
can of wine.
Yeah.
How God intended it.
But during the day, we ventured into like Fremont and Ballard area of Washington, which is northwest of Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got food poisoning there.
Ryan ordered ceviche at like a chain restaurant. And I was like,
Oh,
if you
no.
can't see the water, don't order ceviche. And
And that happened. Yes.
And that was the first time. But that area, if you want to see wicked signs, like a lot of neon, that is the place to go. Holy shit. It's funny enough, we also went into a place called Percy's. Was it?
Yes.
was it a purse store?
Yeah, spelled. Yeah,
No, it was an old-timey dude named Percy.
It was. But it was funny, like from a distance, you look at the store window signage and it looks like 24 karat gold leaf.
Yeah.
Walk closer, it's a vinyl. And you're like, oh, that looks cheap.
I saw that we were
Yesterday.
downtown yesterday. We went to get the kids some burritos and stuff like that. We were walking by a tattoo shop and I saw the lettering and I was like, oh, and I walked up. And it was vinyl on the window.
Yeah.
And we just had the doorbells on a couple weeks ago, and they do a lot of work for Carne Tattoo in town. And it's awesome. You walk in and everything's hand down, and there's the flash all over, and the artists put their stuff up. But after knowing Chris and Stu for a while, walking by a place like a tattoo shop that has vinyl on the window, it just seems like bullshit.
It seemed weird because it looked like you could just peel it off. Like you could stick your fingernail underneath.
Yeah, which I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was so tempting. Like I had my
I'm
knife.
taking this. This is mine now.
So a lot of neon.
Yeah,
It seems like a weird area because we drove through and there's like strip malls and stuff. We didn't find like the town part.
No, I
That's
don't know.
why I ended
that
up
is.
at eating raw warm fish at a whatever
no, you gotta
McDonald's
go,
or whatever.
You gotta go deep.
Ballard Deep,
Ballard Deep.
balls deep in Ballard.
It's like an old fishing village that they've sort of
There's the episode title.
gentrified.
Balls deep in Ballard.
We did, though.
Like, I guess so. We went balls deep. But there's
We went to a farmer's market. That's pretty balls deep.
it was
That's pretty gangster.
a farmer's market that was just shutting down, and the highlight of that farmer's market was seeing this homemade granola company called Daddy's Granola. And
just seems
fucking
wrong.
creepy. It was like Dad's granola, sure, but Daddy's granola just makes it sound so sexual because it was right across the street from
Okay.
a.
No.
Hold on.
Stop. You just said daddy is so sexual.
No,
we got to go
because-
deeper there. We got to go
because-
balls deep into that.
Because
Unpack that.
instead of saying Dad's granola, it's saying Daddy's
You
granola.
can't
No, it
say-
is gross.
It's not like daddy the way a kid. It's like dad.
Well, from
When
like
it-
a,
when
from
it-
like a design marketing perspective, there's just way too many bad ways to be like, put daddy in your mouth. Or like there's no, they
It was like goes back to the dude beer.
yeah, get a couple dudes in me.
Down like 6 dudes last night. It was awesome. But they were right across the street, or a view from a coffee and Bible shop, which I definitely wanted to go in and check out, see if they'll charge my phone through Faith. But anyways, that area of town has a lot of places to drink that are really awesome, that promote a lot of local breweries and local cideries.
Yeah. If you're a beer enthusiast, anywhere that we've been in the Pacific Northwest, like we went into Port Angeles, we're in a place called the Blue Moon or the New Moon. I think it's called New Moon now. And it was just like some horrible dive bar, which means it was perfect, like disgusting carpet and crap all over the walls and a dog running around. And they had 24 local craft beers on tap at like this crappy little dive bar.
Yeah.
So you can like, it's harder to find bad beer in Washington State than it is to.
We also ended up a place called Johnny's Hop Shop.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, Chuck's Hop Shop. Not
Famous
Johnny.
Chuck.
Chuck's Hop Shop.
They rhyme. It's fine.
Which started as, according to the info we were given, it started as a convenience store that sold, like, had a couple beers on tap. And then it just expanded from that to be this gigantic beer store that had, I think it had like
1,000 at least.
well, it had at least like 50 beers on tap.
Yeah.
And then the whole back wall was beer. And it was literally like, it had to be, close to 1,000 types.
Like 3 years ago, we went to see Arcade Fire at the Gorge. And where did we stay, Ryan? Was it Ellensburg?
It was Ellensburg.
Yeah, so right up the street from the hotel, there's just like a little convenience store. And I peeked in the window to see if they had beer. And they actually had a whole growler station in like some crappy little convenience store. And it was like you bring your growler and you rinse it out and you pour your own growler at the convenience store.
Yeah.
And it was like all wood and steel and it looked really nice. And it was just like, they appreciate good beer and you can get it absolutely everywhere.
I don't think Ellensburg was that cool when I was there last.
Oh, we liked it so much. Like we
It's
came
a
back.
college town. I know that.
Is it? Yeah. Well, they had a Fred Meyer there, which is also
I've
really.
been there many times.
I bet.
Gorgeous.
That's what's so interesting about the States, though, right? Because their Fred Meyer looks like our Cascadia, like with the amount of craft beer and stuff that they had just in like a regular grocery store. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah,
but also good hot dogs.
And I was buying
Veggie
12
bacon.
packs of Miller High Life for $7 and I was very happy.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, we should plan a Designers Are the Worst road trip and go down and look at all like the beer design and stuff down there and do like a brewery tour and get drunk in America.
Yeah. It's
My favorite.
It's funny that there's never Canadian beer down there.
That's true.
They don't
Like
need it.
none.
And I always think it's like the we're number one mentality.
Yeah.
Whereas we still have a shit ton of breweries here, but still bringing stuff from the States.
Well, it's like bringing sand to the beach. It's like they have 10 times the breweries that we have. It's like, well, why are we importing beer? Like I forget, it was like Oregon has something like 180 breweries or something in it. It's like, yeah, the entire state. So yeah, it's hard to find a Canadian beer. But it was funny because when we went down to California years ago, we took the kids down. We went to the liquor store around the corner and there was the Canadian whiskey section and all of it was made in America. And all of it had like a giant picture of a moose and stuff on it. And the guy's like, yeah, so you probably recognize some of these. I was like, nope. I was like, oh, you don't have like old moose paw down there or up there? I was like, no, this is and I turned it around. It's like made in Ventura, California. He's like, oh, I never noticed that. So yeah, you can't even get a actual Canadian whiskey in some of the stores. But
It's like weird tourist Canadian whiskey.
But it's funny because it was their interpretation of Canadian design stuff. It was like, oh, it has a beaver and like a jug of maple syrup or something on it. And people are like, whoa, this is super Canadian, but we don't buy that stuff up here.
Well, that's so funny. Like, that's what we went downtown last night and just seeing all the tourists in town is really interesting about like what is promoted as Canadian, like design wise and stuff. It was like,
Yeah, we live in a pretty tourist heavy town, especially in the summertime with cruise ships. And yeah,
Yes.
the tourist shops are just like beaver shirts and moose
Yeah.
shirts and like polar bears and maple syrup everywhere.
and like full like pajamas and stuff with like the bum like pockets and stuff.
just says maple
It doesn't
syrup.
It's kind of fun.
It's the poop pocket.
It's kind of funny because if you walk around downtown here, like aesthetically, it's like, oh, what a charming little town. But there's like a third or half of downtown that's just useless to people that live here, and it makes me very annoyed looking at it because that's not what we're like. Like, I don't know, the aesthetic of Canadians. Maybe that should be a topic one time. Like, what's the Canadian aesthetic if there's ever been one? I guess with like the CBC, what's the name of that guy that did all like the awesome brands back in the day? You showed me that book.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
But they just launched, or I think they like way more than succeeded. They did a Kickstarter because they want to reprint the old CBC brand manuals, which it went into like how the logo should be laid out on like coveralls and like work vans and just absolutely everything. But the guide itself is like it's like a Swedish Helvetica dream manual. Like the whole thing's like laid out so beautifully.
There's been a few that have been made or reprinted. Like NASA had one reprinted, or somebody kickstarted that, and then I think one of the airlines had one, and then maybe the New York subway. But it's all along the same of like, it's a big thick fucking book of like how you should use the brand on everything. Like, not just on a website, because that wasn't even there.
No.
So it was on everything physical and then paper, which is physical.
What's super cool about a lot of the old like airline stuff and like train stuff, and they would hire people like Chris and Stu Dobell, and they would paint the ads. Like, I watched like 3.5 episodes of Mad Men. And when they would like present the art boards and like the artist would come in and like, here, I painted this. So like, oh, make his hair a different color. It's like, oh shit. Like, all right, I'll go back to my easel and like I'll spend another day on this thing and hopefully I get it right. But it's cool that they're reprinting a lot of that stuff, because when we at Bully make like a brand manual, it's all on the computer. Changes are really easy. It's not that difficult to do, but imagine like having to set all the type and having to paint everything and having to like the CBC brand manuals, it's like an actual book. It's not just like a pamphlet. It's like, it appears to be like over 200 pages of this is how it works everywhere forever. And the CBC logo, I encourage anybody listening, if you're not from Canada, to look it up if you don't know it. It hasn't changed since
its origin. It's changed. Like, the color scheme has changed.
Oh yeah, but the
logo hasn't. And when you see it, it's really iconic. And if it ever changed, like, people would turn and flip the country over.
They'd be setting Tim Hortons on fire. But I encourage you. Well, and we'll also post a photo of it up at designersartheworst.com. Check out the episode notes for all the shit we talk about. But it's the kind of thing that gives. The logo would give Aaron Draplin like an intense boner. It's just that like big, thick shapes and like simplicity.
Ew, don't say boner in big, thick shapes.
He's like a big, Aaron Draplin's like a big, thick shape.
He's probably got like a short, wide, kind of fat dick, but.
Yeah, and cocaine. But it's perfectly symmetrical. Gorgeous, no bend in that thing.
With a pop top.
Going back to the tourist thing, though, is when I was 15, I went to Amsterdam, and
brag.
I'm not bragging.
That was a humble brag.
The main slogan there was "Holland is milk and funny." That was their slogan. So that was translated into English for people to see. And then my friend got a shirt that said "The Cheese Bunny from Holland," and that was just everywhere. So it's interesting how design doesn't really translate across languages, and when you're a tourist town, it creates kind of funny instances.
Well, yeah, if you've ever seen English.com about how things just get fucked up, and I got a buddy who's in Thailand right now, and he sent me a photo of and we'll put this up on the website too. It was a sign outside of a shop, and I'm not sure what they have there, but it was a big yellow sign. It said cabbages and condoms. And it had like a drawing of a condom man, like a happy little guy with like feet and arms. And then it said orders until 10:30. And that's all it said.
I like my borscht after midnight, so I was really disappointed by that.
And I'm a morning condom person. But
you get those 8-hour condoms you can just wear all day.
Tube sock. But that reminds me, there was
because they're for peeing, right?
Yeah,
nice.
The whole Canadian like branding thing and the aesthetic. There was a few years ago. It's not that long ago, but there's a town in Alberta, which is like a state here. It's actually probably the most American province we have. But they had a town that was trying to rebrand itself, but there was nothing good in the town, and like everyone was unemployed. Everything was just like the kind of place like where the bus would skip, because who gives a shit about this town? And they hired this firm. They came in and they spent like a few days there meeting the people, and the city council was just like, we really need to boost tourism here. And they're like, well, the only way we can think of doing it is to be honest and say, this is the worst town in Canada. And it worked. And people went specifically to see the worst town in Canada. Like imagine selling that when like a town's giving you tens of thousands of dollars and like, what's your big idea? Like to say that you're fucking terrible. It's like, oh no. What about like spacious? It's like, no, like you guys are the worst, and that's the only way to get it. It's like when Jelly Belly or whatever the Jelly Bean company came up with like a dog shit one or something. It's like, we have to try that one because it's so gross. But
yeah, I mean, we bought the Bamboozled pack.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, where you don't know what you're going to get. It's either going to be horrible or great.
Yeah, so it's like a roulette. If you haven't tried it, just go buy it.
No.
Spend an evening doing it. Because
You just need to do it once.
Okay.
One will be like...
This episode is brought to you by Jelly
No,
Belly.
everything's accidentally brought to you.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry.
Oh, man, we're going to get a letter now.
Yeah.
But you'll spin the wheel and then you go, this one. And it'll be either like coconut or spoiled milk.
Yeah.
And then what I got was a raw fish, or like, no, it's like rotten fish. And
Yeah.
it was
horrifying.
I don't know. Like it fascinated me so much of how they got the flavor.
But it's cool, like from a marketing perspective, when do you ever just go buy a bag of jelly beans as like an adult? But if it's like potentially the grossest thing you've ever had, like you'll buy it at least once.
Yeah, sometimes saying that it's the worst is the best.
Yeah.
Going back
Humble
to...
brag. Designers are the worst.
It's true. I think Edmonton had some city rebrand.
Yeah.
And so they just put the word Edmonton and then a small Canadian maple leaf.
Oh,
as the
I saw that,
And that
yeah.
was it. And people lost their minds and like, there's nothing like, I could have done that for what you paid those people for. So I think they had to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, but it kind of makes you think, like, why does a city need a slogan? It never matches. It never really matches it at all.
All they use it for is letterheads.
And sometimes license plates.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the only time you ever see it. It's like beautiful Manitoba. It's like, I don't know, I've heard it's
Well, it's more
flat and-
province. But
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
cities.
It's friendly. That's all they had to say about
Oh
Manitoba.
yeah, yeah, it's friendly.
That's all we got.
You can see the other provinces from here.
So us criticizing all this other stuff is a perfect segue into the next part, which is
Hashtags?
trash tags, trash bags, hash bags, whatever we call it. We found
We have bags of hash here?
no.
Oh.
It's so disappointed. She's a hash fiend. We go on Twitter and we search designers are the worst, and there are I've never got to the bottom of the search results. It just keeps going and going and going, and I get tired of looking at it all because it's all so negative. And I'm just like, fuck, it's just like feeding my negativity. So then I find 3 of the best ones, and then I trash them all and find 3 more until I find ones that are kind of funny. So I got 3 today that I think they're... Last one's really good.
Spoiler alert.
Because he's ranting and he includes a spelling mistake, which is the greatest time to spell something wrong.
My favorite part of this segment is listening to you deal with people's usernames.
Yeah, the last one's fucked up too. So the first one is from Valerie A. Williams, and she's at One Hip Sister. See, I got that. I watched Sister in the 90s, so I'm cool with it. Because I lived in the middle of nowhere and I had no friends, and my parents wouldn't drive me anywhere.
Humble
Shed
brag.
cable.
Not for nothing. So Valerie A. Williams says, working on my website. But wait, why haven't I had a website in like 10 years? I know I'm not alone. Designers are the worst. Grimace emoticon.
Like the actual purple grimace?
No, like the like or the
Like the facial expression.
like the
No.
constipated emoticon. But yeah,
I went Marcus's route. I was picturing Grimace like, "Urgh."
Somebody stole my fries.
There should be a grimace emoticon.
some sort of burglar stole all of my ham.
I don't know what
Could it
the
be?
grimace emoticon would represent emotionally, though.
Me neither.
Because
So many things to me.
like what?
Speaking of design, you need to
Just
go and... Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Google what Grimace looked like design-wise before they
yeah,
made him to the
scary.
purple guy. He was like terrifyingly scary. I'm so sorry for
Yeah, they
interrupting
changed
you.
them for a
It was
reason.
like it.
Yeah, it's less of a design thing and more of just like a low budget, massive puppet that like an ex-convict climbed into and danced for children. I've always been more of a Mary McCheese guy. I think Give me the man in charge. Well, yeah, so Valerie A. Williams at One Hip Sister talking about why she hasn't had a website in like 10 years. And then I thought about it and like, I haven't had one in about 7.
Yeah, I think we've definitely talked about this before, how
Yeah.
it's at the very bottom of life
Yep.
of actually making your own website and own portfolio. So it's either you get Squarespace, which we've used
Yep.
for this dang show.
Because half of the work is done by the time you get there.
Yeah. Or you just create one page with your name on it and an email link.
I'm very familiar with that tactic.
Because that's all you have time for.
Yeah, it's the old thing where the mechanic has the shittiest car on the block. So,
But does that make them the worst for that?
I got the impression that she is a designer. And she's calling herself the worst because she just realized that she hasn't had a website in 10 years.
Somebody needs a Stuart Smiley moment.
An Al Franken
Yeah.
pep talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. He acts the same now.
I think it's smarter now to just pay somebody else to do it.
Yeah, unless you're a designer, then you're so picky that it'll cost a fortune and you won't be happy with it and you'll end up with a one-pager anyway. But yeah, so websites. Oh, also Ryann owns Bully Design Company with me, so her not having a website is the same as me not having a website. So if you go to builtbybully.com, you'll see a picture of Mexico from sometime in the 70s, and that's about it.
That's accurate. Yeah.
And the logo, I spent 5 minutes drawing one day because I wanted to see if I could turn the L's into palm trees, and great success. So the next one, complaint is from Asia. Now, I'm assuming it's not the country.
Okay.
No. Which
Wait a
Or
minute.
continent?
that's not
Yeah, I was
country.
just gonna say.
Oh, we're so dumb.
You caught it pretty quick though, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
Another letter.
And it's at Asia Chloe Brown. I'm doing way better with the names this time.
Did you practice prior?
No, they're just words that I know. They're one of the 80 words I know. So what Asia says, the person, not the continent,
Thank you.
thought I could use Fiverr on Saturday for a last minute job. A huge mistake. Those are the worst designers on earth. You're spending $5 How good is it going to be? So for anybody that doesn't know, Fiverr, Fiverr, is a website where people are willing to do any number of things for $5.
Yeah.
So on a
You make
Saturday,
that sound way sexier than it is.
it's
$5 is $5.
He said any
30
number
bucks
of
is 30
things.
bucks. Yeah, so you're complaining because the designer that's working on a Saturday for $5 didn't do a good job?
It's the same. It's on par
It's horse shit.
with some spec work. Like there's another site. Is it not 99 Designs?
No, I think,
Oh, I think it
99
is.
Designs.
Maybe it is.
Yeah, it is.
Where it's just the spec.
But it's the same thing.
Community?
It's like, here's what I want. Go make it for me, minions. And then I go pick which one I like, and that person gets paid, and the rest of y'all get fucked.
We've had clients that have used 99 designs, and then they're just annoyed when things cost more. When they want them to look better, they get like really frustrated with it, and I hate it so much.
But the most annoying part of it is one project in particular. We had a client that went to 99 Designs because he didn't like our estimate. And then he got someone from somewhere to do it in probably what appeared to be about 20 minutes with some canned stock vector horseshit. And then brought it to us. He's like, okay, I don't want to pay your full price for you to design it from scratch, but I do want to pay your hourly rate to fix this.
And then he was so annoyed with our hourly rate when it came down to it.
So I told him it's going to cost about the same for me to fix this than it would to do something from scratch. He's like, just spend like an hour on it and just fix it so it's good. So I think I put like 10 hours into it because it was a stupid logo and it didn't make any sense. And then it came out good. And then he's like, that costs too much. I was like, yeah, I know. You should have gone to Fiverr.
So the lesson here is don't use that and expect greatness.
Yeah, you can't even buy a beer for $5. So how are you expected to get a well thought out design?
So a question though for you guys, is that a good way to get started as a new designer though? No.
No, I would say if you...
It doesn't teach you any valuable lessons.
No, and it's $5. You make $5.
Yeah.
So you could...
Well, you probably don't even make that because Fiverr probably takes
they
a
probably take a
percentage.
chunk. Yeah.
Ugh.
We used to use one person on Fiverr where they, back when search engine, that algorithm was different in Google where like meta tags and all that would count for a lot more. And there's one person on there that you give him $5 and he optimizes the site, and he did a great job. Like, we get great scores from Google, and would submit the site to like 800 sites in relevant industries. And at first we thought it would be like a scam, and it just worked forever. So we've used Fiverr in the past, but I feel kind of guilty about it because it was only $5. But this one guy did, like, he must have just had this, like,
Oh, it's a script.
yeah, he puts the domain in and goes burp. So if you can make $5 for clicking one button, for copying, pasting, then clicking a button, then you can do that all day. That's fine. But yeah, if you're expecting anything out of Fiverr that is a creatively adequate on a Saturday afternoon, then you, Asia, the lady not continent, are not smart. So now this last one is one I'm excited about because it's really dumb. This is from M. It's at MXLTA, Mixlta. And the avatar is him with a very long-barreled handgun in his mouth.
Like a shotgun?
No, like a dirty, hairy handgun.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and he looks, he's got both hands on it. He's gripping it.
We're off to a good start.
He's ripping it and gripping it. It's, so, and I could see he's replying to at Wi-Fi on drugs. So this was mid-conversation. This was the heat of the battle. Now, this is all caps. Anybody that puts a gun in their mouth like that does not give a damn about punctuation, and he didn't today. It says, boy, you are one of the worst designers I have seen on Twitter in months. Legit, neck yourself. You are irrelevant.
Wait,
I'm stealing that.
It's pretty good.
also, did you say neck yourself?
Yeah, I don't know what it means, but when I read the last word, irrelevant, I thought of Ralph Wiggum, that me fail English, that impossible. Yeah.
Like, okay, so let's break this down. So neck. Now, he's obviously not talking about necking.
No, that's like an
Like
old school
hickeys?
term for like making out or something.
Neck
Yes,
on.
thank you.
Yeah.
Obviously.
You go to make out a
That's-
point, you neck. Like kids do.
So you just smash necks together. So I'm guessing it's like a kill yourself type thing?
I've heard of neck, like,
Or, I know. I think I know what it means. I
Okay.
think it means to hang yourself.
Oh no!
Dead doy.
is that the Cornell, they call it now?
Soon.
Soundgarden's not very
Now it's
good.
the Chester Bennington. Bevington.
Oh, that was another good thing on Apple Music. I saw for the Chester Bennett, whatever his name is, the guy from Linkin Park, which the funniest thing that came out of that
No, there's nothing
was
funny.
Linkin Park put out a statement. We've decided to cancel the rest of our summer tour. Yeah, no kidding.
One would hope.
We got a hologram.
Yeah. But the thing on Apple Music with that Chester guy, it said something like, nobody knew you could say these words on stage until he said it. I was like, I thought he's saying about like believing in yourself or something, but I was never a Linkin Park fan. But yeah, so those were
I think
the.
this was too soon. I feel really bad for bringing that up. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
if this is too soon for you, if you're listening, just come back to this in a few weeks. Let the healing wash over you. So yeah, if you go to designersoftheworst.com, we post all these tweets in the show notes with we embed them in the post. So feel free to go there and start arguing with these people immediately.
Nice. Should we take a little short break and then come back and start finding out why we're terrible?
We should. I just have one thing I wanted to share
Oh.
that I saw today, that at the end of 2020, Flash will no longer be a thing. Adobe's killing Flash.
Which is great
Yeah.
because they were supposed to a while ago.
It's just so much legacy stuff was using it that it would just be hard to get rid of it without upsetting a lot of people. But these people are using free Flash readers, and nobody's bought Flash in forever, so I don't know.
I know there's
how
still
many people
some streaming content that still relies on Flash, and I'm shocked by that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a joke though, because I've definitely tried to stream content and it's like you have to update your Flash player, and then I don't actually. I just have to click away one link and then it just works. I don't have to download anything.
Clickbait.
Yeah. So the porn I'm watching. Oh, never mind.
It's distracting from the porn. But yeah,
And what does that mean for us? It means not a whole lot.
it means
because
that we can stop.
designing in Flash.
Oh, thank God. I was using Shockwave for a while.
I just picked up a huge client who wants his whole database system in Flash.
One other thing too, we'll post it up there on the site, is Converse redesigned their logo. It's kind of more classic. We'll post the photos up.
Yeah.
There's the old one and then the new one. So the new one is just, it has like the star and the chevron, and then just like any modern typeface that you could pull out of your ass.
At first, when I saw it, I was definitely like I am against. It's like, it's new. I don't like it immediately. But and then I quickly looked at the old one. I'm like, the old one's kind of just like janked.
Yeah.
So maybe
they don't put that logo really on any shoes that most people wear.
No.
Like even like the Converse has a skateboarding team, but they just call it Cons, which is super cool. But a lot of the guys wear just like the classic Chuck Taylor, but then they also have ones that just have the giant chevron and star on the side, and it looks kind of weird. Like they tried it in the 90s or the early 2000s or something with the skate team, and it never looked right on a skate shoe. But I don't know what's going to happen, but feel free to check it out on the site and let us know what you think about the new Converse logo, which is better than the old one and kind of what anybody would have done nowadays, but hopefully it'll work. I don't know.
That's not up to us, so it doesn't matter.
So, but Ryan and Jen, everybody hears us constantly talk shit on design because that is part of our job. What do you guys think about it?
The new one is less Avril Lavigne, if that makes sense.
Less skater boy?
Less skater boy.
Don't be a
skater
hater
man.
boy.
Say, see you later, boy.
I'm going to go hang out with Chad.
I'm going to show my age and remember Cons from like the 80s. And they had the really like puffy like high tops and stuff.
Yep.
Cons was a different brand than Chuck Taylor's almost at that point.
Well, it still is like the Cons is like
Yeah.
the more performance-y ones, and these ones, it's like the more casual, like the classic stuff that everybody knows.
Totally. And so looking at the new one, I would ditch the word mark, and the logo doesn't bother me at all.
Because it's what it's always kind of been in
Exactly,
one way or another. And they don't really put it on any of the shoes.
No.
Like, like a high top pair of Vans by the Chuck Taylor stamp, which always bugged me that it's on the inside of the ankle.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I feel like it
that's
should be on
annoying.
the outside.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah.
It drives me nuts. That's why I can't wear them. It's just visually, it makes me just
You
furious.
just put them on the other feet.
Yeah,
Idiot.
that's fine. Put them on backwards.
So
Real cool.
I like that they kept the star, but I agree with you that font is nothing. Like it's a nothing font. I wish they kept the font from the old one and ditched the star in the middle of the O and brought it over.
Definitely.
Yeah. So the verdict is, whatever.
Yeah.
If
As
you
long
like
as I don't
Converse,
put it on the outside of my shoe, I'm okay.
exactly. That's one thing. Is that anything?
You just said opposite.
When I saw the link, I clicked on it and I was like, "Oh, I totally forgot what the previous logo looked like." So it's not like it's a part of my life, but it did make me mad to see that what it used to be. There's kind of the big blocky, almost like spacey type. Like almost, I don't know. It was weird, but
At the end of the day, everything's irrelevant. So
when push comes to shove,
It is irrelevant.
yeah, it's irrelevant.
You made an even better word.
No, I did.
All right, we're going to take a short break and going to open a beer, and we're going to come back and we're going to ask Jen and Ryan how horrifying or hopefully sometimes delightful it is to be with a designer. Goodbye.
bye.
Welcome back after you enjoyed that music.
Man, that music is just, it gets better every time.
My toes are tapping. It's funny because the first song after Marcus does the commercial for the beer we're accidentally brought to you by Pabst Blue Ribbon today in an unironic way. It's cheap and it comes in 8 packs, and it used to be 5.5%, and then they lowered it to 4.9, which I find offensive on every front. But anyway, the music that you hear after Marcus's commercial, Marcus actually made that music, and then all the other ones we got off YouTube. So if you're going to dance to anything, dance to the first one.
And I think there's more coming soon.
Yeah, I
got a few ideas up in my old noggin.
yeah, get the washboard and the jug out.
In the triangle.
Family band experience.
Yeah.
So we're back with our life partner.
Sure. Again, very optimistic of you.
Fellow
but yeah.
pizza maker.
No, I said for your life, and then it's my
For now, people. That's
yeah.
what we are.
My brother used to introduce his girlfriends as, this is my current girlfriend. And it's weird. He's like 40 now and he's alone. And
weird
he's
how that works.
slowly drinking himself to death. I find it hilarious. What a prick. If you're listening, I love you.
No, if he's listening, he's going to threaten to punch me. That's what happened last
No,
time.
if he's listening, it's weird that he figured out how to listen to a podcast because he's practically a caveman. But yeah, so today, what we wanted to do, I've heard a bunch of design podcasts in the past. Nobody ever talks to people that aren't designers, really. And especially nobody ever talks to husbands, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, about what it's like to live with a designer. Because I know from my experience, there's been a lot of like 4 a.m. nights and then work all day, then 4 a.m. and then it just goes on and on and on. And I feel like I'm like a lamp in the house rather than a human because I just stay in one place. And I'm decorative. And the kids walk up once in a while and will hug me and say, I'm going to bed. I'm like, oh, what time is it? They're like 8. I'm like, in the morning? They're like, no, at night. I'm like, God damn it. So that's what it was like for me for a while. What about you, Marcus?
I'm still laughing over the lamp analogy. Because your lamp that you can never...
We'll wait till you're done.
You can never turn the lamp off.
Because I'm always turned on? What are you talking about?
I don't know where I was going with
What
that.
do you guys do when I'm not around?
He just likes to look at it.
We love lamp.
I love that.
I love life. I don't know what we're yelling about. So
Yeah, there's some nights it definitely feels like you don't, or some days it just feels like you're running on not even steam at that point. It's just like spit.
old water.
Yeah, because you've been up super late and you're up super early. And then you just repeat that for a few days. And then Friday comes around and you have one beer and you fall asleep at 7.
Yeah. Well, see, that was the opposite with me, is that I would wait until it was beer time and then I would get like my fourth wind and I would stay up so dumb. I would stay up again till like 4, but not working, just like watching movies. Like Ryan would fall asleep on the couch beside me and I'd be like, I had my night off and I stayed up to 4 a.m. again. So can't wait to go to work tomorrow. So we're going to be talking about how annoying we are. And I have some questions I wanted to ask that I'm curious about because Ryan and I have been together for 13 years and I've never asked any of these questions before. So the first one being when, and it's for both Jenn and Ryan, when you tell people what we do for a living, what do you say?
It's different every
Yeah,
time.
that's a good one. Is it because when people ask me, I say something different every time?
Yes, and it's also because it depends on the audience. If I know someone is, down with the lingo, I can maybe be more specific. But
Well, so you are down with the lingo.
Are you down with the sickness?
Oh, no. Too soon again.
Ooh, ah.
no,
And we're all down to clown.
no, like if it's somebody that doesn't really get it, it's like, what does Marcus do? He makes the internet.
He makes the internet.
I love that answer. That was great.
Like my niece asked me what I do.
And you never answered her.
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
When we were in Whole Foods, I explained to her that
Oh, you go to
Bougie.
whole. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
That-
fuck off.
I guess
Fuck you.
that really
probably
had
wanted to
nothing
go.
to do with the story.
He's munching on an uncooked bag of couscous right now.
It's artisanal, so fuck you. But I just told her, it's like, I design websites and apps for phones. So when you see a website, I would have designed it, or
Yeah.
maybe not. But
All of them.
No matter what it is.
Every time you open up the internet, I did that.
I made it.
Google, they did that.
Al Gore didn't make it. I made it.
I coded RedTube. So what about you, milady?
Nobody asks me what you do. I don't have an answer for that.
Fucking, you know what? That's the perfect answer because on social media, anything, there's no photos of me anywhere. I just rant about things I dislike and I have 0 friends and I follow
Yeah.
nobody. So I like to leave like a 0, like I don't like to cast a shadow. So if people aren't asking you about me, then means they don't think I exist. And that is perfect.
You're like a 0 carbon human.
Totally. So I'm the front-facing person of our company for sure. So
yeah.
For the best.
I don't know if that's for the best or not, but it is what it is. And so, yeah, the weird thing is that he's the total talent and brains behind the whole thing, but nobody asks me about him at all. So I spend my whole day being the person who answers the questions.
But are there any family members or friends or people you meet that's like, oh,
nobody cares. No.
Yeah, we meet so few people. It's like, yeah.
I think interestingly enough, I think the most complex person that we've had to explain what you do to is your father, and he's never going to get it. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I started out designing, I was doing work for like no money because I wasn't very good. So you don't want to charge a lot. So doing like a logo for like $100 or something like that. And my dad would make fun of me because I wasn't making any money and I was spending a lot of time working, even though he never saw me do it. He was just like assuming that I was wasting my time. And, for years, I think he still says it now. He's like, "What are you still working for? Fucking Magic Beans, there, idiot."
There's the penguin voice.
Yeah,
I was waiting for that.
So if you ever meet him, he sounds exactly like that.
He does, though. He
disgusting.
really
I love
does.
your dad.
No,
it's better.
only when he's mad. I get scared when it comes out.
But even now, like we've had this shop. We've been in this office for 2 years now. Coming up in September, I've had Bully for 5.5 years, and they've been here once. They really have no clue what I do.
They came here to wait for their dog to get something done
circumcised?
to it. I don't know. I was going to say circumcised
No,
too.
it's not. Jen looks at me. He's not circumcised.
But I literally was going to say circumcised too. That's super
Yes.
weird.
Not
So
a thing.
it was like my dad's been a truck driver for 40 years. So like even if I just went out into like a parking lot and smashed like a big sheet of metal with like a sledgehammer, he would come and watch me work. And he'd be like, "Oh, you should hit it over there more." But because it's on the computer, he's like, "I don't fucking know what he does." Like I think he has an interest, but he doesn't want to get over the 30-second learning curve of me explaining how it works.
Like, it would be a lot easier if you said, like, oh, I'm a software developer.
No.
No, I don't think so.
No, it'd be easier if I said, "I make phones."
Yeah.
He go, "Oh, like this one that tells me where cheap gas is in this app." I'm like, "Yeah, I build that phone." He's like, "Cool." But that's like how base level it would have to be. Like, he's not a tech savvy dude. So he wanted me to start driving truck too and like moving furniture, which is what he's done for like 4 decades. And then I left. I was like, "No, I want to start designing stuff." He's like, "That's stupid." And it turned out that it was kind of stupid, but it's been way more fun.
So going back to when we were talking about Fiverr in the last segment, I guess, Marcus, thinking you asked about friends. And so we have had friends that have asked us for work, and then I've given them quotes because as an account manager and a project manager, that's my job. And lots of them have just been shocked about like the sheer like number that I've given them, but that's the work that it takes. So Matt has to put in like.
So then they ask,
yeah.
well, what exactly does he do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like
Pictures and words together.
Well,
So-
he thinks. Well, I put the words in, and he does the pictures.
I do words too.
I know, but I do more words.
You do. But when it comes to friends, the rule that I've come up with over the years is that I'll never work for a friend. If they need help, then we'll help them, and I won't charge them anything. Last year we did a logo for a friend. She was going out on her own writing, doing like freelance writing. Something's happening across the table. Nope. No, Jen, when you wave your hands, the microphone doesn't pick it up.
I was trying to suppress a hiccup, if you must know.
She's so
We
suppressive.
must know.
So we had a friend that wanted to go out and start freelance writing, and she knew that having a cool or just like a polished logo would make sense. And then she came and she goes, "Well, how much is it going to be?" And I just said, "Nothing. Just I'm going to give it to you, and I don't want to hear any edits. Just here it is. If you don't like it, cool. I only spent 2 hours on it, and you move on." And she's like, "Oh, well, okay, that makes sense." And then I did it, and she's like, "That's perfect." And then she brought like a huge box of beer, and I was like, "Cool." There's no financial part of it. There's no anything. It's just like you should never lend a friend money. You should give a friend money if you can spare it, because then you're not going to have that weird. Now this relationship is transactional, and I'm not enjoying it anymore.
We're in an interesting relationship right now, kind of along the same lines with a friend that did some like construction work for us, and we're trading design work for it.
Yeah, we're trading, which
Yeah.
is totally great.
Yeah.
And we're getting a lot out of it. He's getting a lot out of it. And it's the kind of thing where I've had relationships like that in the past with tattoo artists, and they were going to be so good. Mm-hmm. And then one of them moved out of town, and the other one just kind of flaked off and didn't basically this tattoo, which is my right arm from my forearm up to my shoulder, was free because I was supposed to design a bunch of stuff for him. And it took 5 months of him saying, "Oh, I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you." And then I just stopped going around. I was like, well, that relationship was going to be transactional, and I was going to get free tattoos. He was going to get a bunch of design stuff. He was going to do like a magazine and all that. And then he just couldn't get it together. So one day, if I ever see him again, I'm going to grab him and say, "I'm going to design you a magazine. I don't care if you want it anymore or not." That was part of the deal.
He's dead.
Is he?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, well, I'm off a hook.
Yeah. That was dark.
Well, that's a relief.
Wow.
I thought I was going to have to design a magazine.
No, he died 3 years ago.
Oh my God.
Oh,
For real.
well, he's not haunting me, so he must not be that bummed out about it.
Oh,
I've never had that where a client died.
you could have gotten a free ghost.
Well, I'm not getting tattoos for sure now.
Fuck.
I'll tell
Okay.
you after, Jen.
Okay, so with you guys, like Jen, do you ever have friends that are like, "Hey, do you think Marcus could make something for us?" And if they do you ever involve Marcus in it, or do you just say no?
I mean, I'll bring it to him sometimes, but every year I do ask him to make a logo for our work softball tournament. And I could say, it could be the worst thing you've ever made. I don't care. I just need it.
And I put 0 effort into it.
But I'm sure it still looks good.
It still looks better than any softball logo I've ever seen.
This year was, oh, by the way, I need this logo done for the softball this year. And I said, okay. And just like I do every other year, tell me what it needs to say, when it needs to be done. It's like, she tells me, and then it's like, it needs to be done yesterday. It's like, fuck. All right, give me 20 minutes.
You should
You'll
just
get
have
something.
a bunch in a folder on your desktop.
Well, no, because the
Fiverr.
years changed.
Or Fiverr.
Fiverr.
That's what you should do.
No. You do it, then you get all the glory. As I'm sure there is a lot for.
Oh, and then
Softball
this
jersey.
year we added the 10K run t-shirts.
Oh, that one too.
Yeah.
So technically they're favors for me.
Yeah. So we haven't really had that. Ryan and I haven't had the favorite thing, aside from that one with our friend Tracy that I did the logo for last year. It doesn't really come up that often. I've had friends that have asked me to do like a sticker for like a music festival, and then I'll do it, and they're like, "Well, how much is that?" I'm like, "No, just take it. It was fun to make, and because it's free, you can't ask for any changes." And they're like, "Great," and you just move on. So, but yeah, it's been a while.
We did have,
since it's ever come up.
we did have a family member. Sorry, Ryan. We did have a family member ask about doing a website. That was your uncle, Cal.
Oh, yeah.
And I just directed him to a local agency.
Yeah.
Just because I was super swamped and I just didn't want to get into like working with family and like disappointing them because it's delayed because I'm busy doing other stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny job to help people with because there can be so much communication and there can be so many negatives about the experience that you just walk away being like, fuck, that was kind of a bummer. I wish I didn't help. I often compare a lot of things to being like a chef or running a restaurant. I think it's good for analogies. And when you're a chef, you go to someone's house and be like, "Hey, don't worry, I'm cooking dinner." Everyone's like, "Sweet, this person knows how to cook." And they took the stuff out of the fridge and they made a great meal and we're very grateful. And then it's done. But then if it's like, well, let's email for 3 weeks about what you guys want to eat and then we'll do ingredients and all that, it's going to suck and everyone's going to hate being involved in it. If it's like a spur of the moment thing, which is hard for us to do, if we could do it like, "Hey, let's sit down right now because we're thinking of it, we'll just make it, then it's done," they would love it and it would feel good to do. But because there's like, nothing's ever quick.
Yeah.
No.
So I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry about that. But I was thinking one of my really good friends, she was a manager of a tourism town. I don't know how to say that without actually saying it out loud.
Tourism town, USA.
Yeah.
No,
But Canada.
It was like a tourist hotspot in Western Canada, and she was the manager of the tourism department in the marketing area.
And most lovely woman in the whole world. And so we put in she approached us and we put in our bid for it. And then she said no. And at the end of it, she said, "You wouldn't have liked working with us anyway." And so that's an interesting thing about being a designer too, right? And working with people that you already know. You don't want to ruin relationships over work, which is, it's difficult.
Yeah. And that friend I worked with in the past in the kind of the the beginning stages of Bully, and she was super professional, and it was totally fine. Like, it wasn't
she was great.
it wasn't my friend to start off with. It was Ryan. So it was more like I didn't have to waste time asking, like, how are you doing? And all that kind of stuff. It's like, she was like right to business. Yeah. And then it went out. She's like, awesome. Here's a check. And you moved on. So that was really positive. But a lot of times when it's a favor, if they drop the ball for a bit and then they pick it up again when you're really busy, and they're like, oh, well, I just need it. Can I have it by Wednesday? I'm like, well, 3 weeks ago would have been awesome to have this when I had the time. But now I feel like a dick because I'm putting you off, and then it just kind of gets sour. Mm-hmm. So
that's interesting, Marcus, though. We probably deal with that kind of situation more than you do, right? Because you're working for a company that you're doing your design projects, but we're working with like people that we have to deal with every single day.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
No, like, we're talking about like the favors and friends and stuff. Like we work directly with the clients and all that, so it's not. It's different in that
it doesn't infringe on your daily like work day.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's that's a different thing. Mm-hmm. So my second question, and don't hold back at all, is that when I'm working a lot, and when Marcus is working a lot, and it's going on and on, what's the most boring or annoying part about us working? Like not being able to just check out and be like, oh, I'll pick it up on Monday.
Jen goes first.
Maybe like when I wake up and no one's in bed, and then I go to bed and no one's in bed.
That's pretty good.
Or like I'll walk into the room and I don't know if he's like on a call, like with a client, or if he's just listening to music. How do I interrupt him politely? Like, but it's our own home, it's kind of awkward, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, if I took my dad's advice and just worked on the truck, it'd be like, well, when he's not in the truck, he's not working, and I can talk to him. Or like when he's in the truck, like I think it's been a really interesting thing with Ryan and I too, having 3 kids, is that when the kids see me at home, then dad's home, but they all know, oh, dad's working. So I don't go near him, but he's here all day. And like we work in the office, but like on the weekends or before we had the shop, it's just like Ryan would tell them dad's working, and then they just like walk by me again, like I was a lamp, and I was just like part of the house. So it was, for me, that was weird. What about you, Ryan? What was weird and dumb about it?
I think things are still weird and dumb, so it's not a was thing.
But I work way fewer. I work way fewer evenings and weekends now.
You do. It's true. You carried the majority of the weight in our house for many, many years because we do have 3 children, as you just mentioned. And so I think we should post that picture of you holding newborn Sloan with baby Valley on your lap and Ash hanging over your shoulder while you're working on the computer in our living room. Yeah. So it's been hard. Like I think the thing about being a designer is that you can fit it in anywhere, so it makes it seem less finite than like working at like Staples or something, right? Like you don't come home from work being a designer; it's always going on. So yeah.
Well, when the work's in your head, and you know that, well, if I just work tonight, then I can get it done and sent off for the morning. And then if we get revisions by noon, then I can have them done by the end of the day, and then we can bill them and actually get paid. Yeah. When I was freelancing, that was like a way bigger part of it. I would take on too much and just have to get it all done, and wouldn't see anybody or do anything, and just to get the money, which sucked. Yeah. So I'm envious of people that can just have a job that you just like walk away from because you can do other things. Yeah. Like even when we go to town, when we visit family, I'll bring my computer and all that. I'm like, yeah, what if something comes up? And like,
sounds familiar.
It's too easy to always be working.
Yeah. I find it the same, where quite often I'm thinking like, man, I remember the days when I would just get off work and then I would be able to think about other things and not what I'm working on.
Have hobbies.
Yeah. But my hobbies is what I do now.
But the funny thing is that with that hobby thing, I can't pick up a hobby now unless I can think about how it ties in, like, unless I can convince myself it's productive. Like this podcast. I was like, well, it'd be good for the shop, and then maybe we'll go to conferences and it'll be fun to talk to designers and all that. Like I have to justify a hobby, and if I can tie it into work or something that'll make money, then I can do it. But if it's just like, I want to knit.
You sound greedy.
Oh no, it's just you're so wired over time to be productive and have it amount to something where I couldn't like put ships in the bottle because I would slip or I would Cornell myself. And
You would neck yourself.
neck myself.
That's what the kids are calling it.
Yeah, and then his life was irrelevant.
Inrelevant. Is that what I said? That's
So, Jen, when you pick up a hobby, what's that like?
And if you could do that right now.
Well, if I could stick to one, I
Well,
don't know. It's my choice to do it. Like no one's forcing me.
and that's where I get excited. Not when you give it up because you don't have time.
When you give it up?
Is
I
that
get
what you
excited
call
when
it?
you give it up.
That's not what I meant at
That's
all.
the biggest bottle of baby oil I've ever seen. Please put your shirt back on.
Also, you said baby oil. That was gross.
Baby oil, it's rub down.
So when you're doing the getting into watercolor stuff,
I was being artsy.
you were doing watercolors like an artist would, and I got really excited. Like, oh, what are you doing? You should do this, and then you should do that because I don't have the time to do that.
And then I
stuff.
felt pressure and then I quit.
Yeah, because it becomes like a job or an obligation and there's no joy. And that's a hard thing for me is I can't find joy in like a normal thing.
That happened to photography. Like
Yeah.
as soon as people were like, I need pictures of my children and they need to be doing this. And I would spend all day on a computer and I'd come home on a computer and just, I wouldn't like it anymore. So
Yeah.
you just quit.
Yeah, when the creative thing becomes a bummer, then it's like, well, fuck, I'll just watch TV or something. I'll just like have another drink and just make it all go away.
Yes.
I beg to differ in that.
No.
No, I do beg to differ. I did my own vegan lifestyle blog, which sounds really pretentious, but I really found a lot of joy in it. And I did the
all that
photography and I
matters.
did the writing and stuff. And then it got to the point financially where I had to give it up because I had to start doing a daycare. And so I miss that. Like I wish I
Yeah.
had the time to do that now for sure. Yeah.
Well, it's the dumb thing is that if I do anything for me now, like having the kids and having all the work and all that, if it's purely for me, I feel so much guilt that it drives me nuts and I just have to stop. I'm like, no, I can't do this. This is for me.
But if it's for you, that doesn't make the family money.
Yeah. Or if it doesn't like this podcast doesn't make any money, but for me, I did the math of how it could help me as a designer and also how it could be fun to talk about design and meet people and like, you know, maybe travel with it and that kind of thing. But if it was just like, I want a podcast on bird watching because it's my passion, like I wouldn't be able to do it because I would feel too guilty about not being home right now. It has to be tied into work or I can't do it.
Yeah.
I Shawshanked myself.
That's a good point. No, go ahead. No, what were you about to say?
Say it.
Say it.
Say it. Do
Couple
it.
Think-
problems.
Marcus hasn't seen Shawshank Redemption.
Oh no, we covered that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just had to rub it in.
Some of them liked being in prison. There you go.
Oh,
That's how I Shawshank myself.
Sum it up.
I'm gonna get pieces of it over all these episodes, and I'll feel like I've watched it. That's how it works.
I was really heartbroken when Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon broke up.
I was kind of happy because I think he's kind of a dick.
Is he a dick?
He's like an opinionated, like when they put him in Team America World Police,
Yeah.
part of the Film Actors Guild. Huh?
I do recall.
Oh no, we got stopped in the airport because of this. Go on.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was when that movie came out. We were going through the airport on our honeymoon, and in that movie, all the like Middle Eastern terrorists and all that are in there. All they say is,
And our last name is Salek.
"Well,
see.
may I tell?"
Okay,
God
I'll
damn
shut
it.
up. I'm sorry.
All they say is Durka Durka Muhammad Jihad. That's all they say the whole thing. And we were walking through the airport and I just watched it 7 times because it's so good. And Ryan's like, you probably shouldn't say that the whole time you're in the airport. I was like, oh, it's funny. And then I get through the customs. They're like, yeah, we're randomly screening you for bomb making stuff and please take off your pants and your belt. I'm like, oh, this is why you don't say it. Plus, apparently my last name is one of the most common surnames in the Middle East. So it still happens in the airport, but whatever. I just want to say, I don't quote Team America anymore.
Random screening my ass.
Oh yeah, every time's random.
Every time.
I also am guilty of the random, quote unquote random screening.
Yeah.
Says the pale man with the ginger beard.
Hey, when I watch you go through the metal detector with metal buckles on your Birkenstocks, and I go through in sweatpants and a t-shirt, and there's not an ounce of metal, and he goes beep beep beep. That's when it's a random search, and then I get the whole spin around metal detector swabbed.
Because you look like a criminal.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's true.
At least I look like something.
So, Marcus, out of all the stuff that you've helped or like done Jenn a favor with design, is there anything that you walked away and was like, that was cool, I enjoyed that?
No.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It's all been rush jobs, and yeah, at the end of the day, it's usually just a t-shirt.
Yeah.
For a softball
That someone's going to rip the sleeves off of and then use to wipe their sweat up later.
I like that.
most of the time it's designing how to put IKEA furniture together.
And so, Jenn, if I asked your parents, what does Marcus do for a living, what would they say?
He makes the internet.
God.
And
I'm okay with that.
And Hun, what do you think? I think your dad would have a big explanation, but I think your mom might have the more correct one.
I think they would say, you prevent me from having the career I should have. But they
that's what children do.
No, I don't mean to open up a big can of worms.
King. I didn't prevent anything. I just worked and made money. You guys all seem to be having your own lives and doing your own things. I was the only one stuck.
I think that my parents would have preferred that I stayed at UVic the whole time, but that didn't work out. And I don't think they know what you do, even if, like, to be honest, like, I think they have like a vague idea, but you look like you know more about what they think than I do.
I could picture your dad being like, oh, he does tons of stuff. He makes beer labels and he makes shirts or something, and he does fabulous stuff, and he's great, and I bought him some beer and that kind of thing. And I think your mom would be more careful about the explanation. She'd probably be closer, but the point being that they would both be just yards closer than my parents would.
Probably, yeah.
I gave some beer labels that I designed a few years ago. I gave them to family members, and I think we were there for Christmas or something like that. And we were there, I was handing them out. I was like, I did the labels for all these. And they're like, cool. And then I heard one of them say, what did Matt have to do with them? And then the other person said, he made the beer. I was like, fuck. I told you my role in it. Yeah. But they're like, okay, so it's like homebrew? It's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, well, you can just give that right back to me.
I think that's just like a parent thing, though. Like, I don't know if Marcus and Jenn, if you guys have the same experience with your parents. Yeah. Like, parents just check out after a certain age. And having 3 children ourselves, I'm going to check out soon. Like, I'm counting down the days till I check out. So
William
it's
Smith
just how it is.
Said that parents...
Oh, God damn it.
They may or may not understand.
But they might understand, though.
Okay, Will Smith.
William Smith? Marcus, what about you? If I asked your stepdad, who I met almost a year ago to the day, because there's that same car show in town this weekend, what would your stepdad say? Because I think he'd have a funny answer.
He would have no clue. He honestly wouldn't know.
So how does it make you feel?
He stays far away from computers and iPads and stuff.
Yeah.
He can change the channels on the TV, and I think that's all he needs in life.
Yeah.
You know what? I think
tell
that's
him
a
you
good
make commercials.
thing, though. I think that's a really good thing, because it's really weird since my parents got iPads. They look like drones. Like, every time we go to visit, they're just like staring at their squares, and it's gross.
Former Luddites, but now they have iPads.
Yeah.
And they share a Facebook account. So they're...
Well, my mom's a teacher, so she can't have her own.
It's like 2 guitar players playing the exact same solo beside each other on the couch. It's just kind of like, maybe one of you could play bass.
Is there commentary like, will you like that post? No, I won't like that post.
It's silence. It's dead silence. It's pretty funny. But yeah, it's the whole like technology part of it where it was baffling to them for a long time. Like how what I do is kind of baffling to my parents and stuff like that, because it's a weird job that they never knew anybody that had that job before. And now it's way more common. But my mom might say, I think he's in advertising and he works with beer. Like, no, I've worked with beer. I drink beer. I'm not in advertising. And she can't remember my email.
No, that's not even the funny thing.
One of my email addresses.
Let me tell this story.
You can send something if you want. Oh, I'm not going to respond. Is matt@mattsalick.com. That's the only one I've ever given her, and she can't remember it. And she named me.
The funniest. That is really funny, actually. I don't think this is funnier now. I can't follow
an email address could get easier.
I know,
No,
right?
it's me at me. She's I can't remember it.
She got mad.
1 T or 2 T's?
Wait. She got mad 2 years ago because he kept changing his area code, but we've lived in the same province for the last 20-something years.
Yeah, so that's
really funny.
Another thing with the parents and technology, it's like I can tell when you've called and when you haven't. It's like a birthday comes around. Oh, we called you a bunch on your birthday. You must have been out. It's like, okay, the phones are in our pockets now. I can see you absolutely did not call me, and you can't change your area code.
Okay, we absolutely cannot air this episode now, so this is marked as unaired because your mom's going to listen.
I don't care. It's
right.
fine with me. And whatever.
Right.
Hey, Mom.
I'll even it out. Dad, you're a dick. Just joking. I like you.
All right.
Just like
No, I do like.
No, just like? Or do you like him?
No, I do.
do you love him? Daddy?
Not daddy again.
Daddy's granola.
Okay, that wasn't on air before, the daddy's granola
No,
conversation.
it was.
No.
Yeah, that was in the beginning when they were in
Definitely
Ballard and the farmer's market.
Remember when you said you're counting the days until you check out? I think you did it.
You can stop counting. Immediately.
Fair enough. I'll be quiet now.
I'm actually kind of curious about, since like I've only been in the design field workforce for 6 years, 7?
And in Victoria, it's a big field we all go to.
Yes.
In the center of town.
We all hunker down with our laptops.
It's one of 3 places in Canada with Wi-Fi, so we all have to congregate.
But the first 2 years sort of count, but don't really, because they were at a affiliate marketing company where the worse the design was, the better things performed. But I'm wondering, like, since I've gotten into that field, do I complain a lot more about design things? Do I bitch about them, or do I talk about them more in general? Because we used to work together at my previous job, and I know
That's how we met.
You like him.
And I know I definitely didn't talk about design then, even though I was still interested in it. And I wonder how that is, like, if you notice. Plus, over the years, too, like, you learn to just accept things, and you maybe talk about less than before.
Yeah.
Nothing?
I think you're happy now with your career and your path. I mean, there's little frustrations that are normal, but you don't come home and go, man, I need a beer. That was a shitty day. Like, there's none of that.
No, but I guess what I'm more mean is, like, if you see stuff in the wild and it's like that logo looks like
all the time.
big piece of garbage. And I think before I would rip it, and then now I'm like, I don't know.
Now it's just more educated.
They tried.
Yeah.
It's like they did stuff. I didn't do it.
That
I don't
happens-
know what's happened.
That happens with Ryann and I too, primarily when we go and we'll like buy beer or something, and then she'll like hold up a label and be like, this doesn't look very good. And I'm like, you can't even show that to me. I can walk through this store and just make myself really mad. So it's really tempting all the time to just go in and look at the good stuff and the bad stuff and whatever. But there's a point where it's like, I'm kind of off the clock now. But the hard thing about being off the clock is that you never stop seeing design absolutely everywhere. So you're always looking at your job. Like if you're a firefighter, maybe when you see a campfire, you'll think of work. But like
I really want to put the fire out.
Like everything's not on fire when you walk around. Like if you and Jenn were on a date and you were a firefighter, like if everything was on fire, it'd be really hard to not think about work because you want to put all the fires out.
Why would we be on a date where everything's on fire?
That's what I'm saying, is that it wouldn't happen. But with us, like I'm looking at your shirt, your hat, I'm looking at the can design, I'm looking at everything that has words and pictures on it, and it's impossible to escape unless we go to like Antarctica. Like our job is everywhere. And you can obsess over it if you want to absolutely drive yourself nuts.
So I worked for other agencies, obviously, before. And so I've obviously worked with a lot of other designers. And
Obviously.
Matt's absolutely right that we can't escape it. And so he does get really mad about things, like just the little things that I would notice. And so that's an interesting aspect of our relationship, is that I have to be way more measured. I would say measured with Matt than I did have to be with other designers that I've worked with. Like if I was working with you, Marcus, I could be like, blah, 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 and we could just spitball and stuff. With Matt, I have to be a lot more careful. And that's an interesting aspect of our relationship.
Ryan's Tom Cruise and I'm Rain Man.
Pretty much.
And I just have to get to Kmart. I need to eat at the same time. And don't bring anything up right now because I'll freak out. And yeah, but it's hard being that into it.
Yeah.
And then changing gears or calling attention to something just that you had nothing to do with. Just like, hey, that bus ad looks like shit. I'm like, I just want to go punch the bus right now because it distracted me from the other thing I was doing. But yeah, it is a terrible bus ad and I hate it. And it's kind of like an ex-alcoholic. You push a drink across the table. You're like, You're like, oh, that looks good. But like, I really don't want it because I know like the rest of my day is just done if I start obsessing over everything. Yeah. So is that what you get to, Marcus, when like that took me a while to get there. I used to just get mad immediately or obsess over something really cool immediately and just get into it.
It really has to be the dumbest looking thing for me to make a comment about it now.
Yeah.
That's in a negative way. Most of the time I'd look at things and I don't give a shit because I'm not working, so I don't really care. But if it's really cool or like really stands out as something original, then I'll definitely say something about it. But it's so rare now that it's a negative thing because you just be in a situation you just don't know what went into those meetings or what went on with the client.
Or if there was a meeting.
Yeah.
And when I said before, the thing about self-realization is rarely positive, is that what I just realized is because Ryan's a really good writer and she does like the vast majority of the writing for the company and it's great from client work to proposals to all this kind of stuff. When she brings up bad design to me, I get annoyed because it's just way too easy to get mad. But then any grammar mistake I see on a sign, I'll immediately point out to Ryan. And then she goes, oh God, they put the apostrophe in the wrong place. Or like there's this one restaurant in the town where Ryan's parents live.
Your parents live there too.
I know, but
whatever.
We see your parents more. On the awning outside the restaurant, it says like chicken, pasta, ribs, but there's an apostrophe between the B and the S belonging to rib.
Oh no.
So I'll point that shit out to Ryan, and I just realized, and I apologize, that must drive you crazy the same way when you point out like, hey, look how dumb this looks.
Well, does it? Like, think about it. Do I ever get mad about stuff like that, or do I laugh along with you?
You laugh, but you do get frustrated that it's so easy. Like, it was such a dumb mistake that why would you ever put an apostrophe in ribs?
No, I think this is a good conversation in that I don't get as mad as you do. You get really frustrated, and I wonder if that's like a graphic design kind of thing. Like,
I think it's just something.
With writing, I find it like delicious. I'm like, oh man, you assholes! Like I could have made that way better, and I think it's exciting when I find a mistake.
Yeah,
and you don't. You get really mad.
But it's funny over the years. I think Marcus, you were kind of talking about this when you see something so horrible that it's almost beautiful that you're like, everything went wrong with that. And then they paid $800 to have that sign installed.
Oh.
And it's like watching like a big fat guy with like a huge tray of drinks and he trips over like a bunch of stuff and then falls downstairs and everything spills. And it's like, that was the worst that could have gone. But it delighted the absolute shit out of me. That was really fun to watch.
Not that this has anything to do with design, but it has to do with somebody tripping at a restaurant. We watched somebody trip at a restaurant.
Did you pay to do that?
No, but I would have. Because she hit the ground and made the most hilarious noise when she got up. It was just like, oh, don't touch me, don't touch me.
I couldn't even look at her.
She was totally fine. She just made a loud slapping noise when she hit and then just panicked and acted like a child, and I couldn't stop laughing
It
at
was
the whole
that
situation.
skin on tile thud. It was like thud smack.
Oh no.
That reminds me of one of
Oh, I hit both my knees.
like an early design job I had. A family friend asked me to design and draw him a tattoo. So I did it, and he was really into it, and he came to town, and he called me up. He's like, you should come down. I'm getting it put on today, and then I'll take you out for a few drinks and dinner afterwards. I was like, cool. I don't have any money, and I would like a free meal and a free beer. So went and watched him get tattooed for about an hour, and then he's like, okay, let's go get a drink and get dinner. And he takes me to the strip club, which I'm not a strip club guy. And it was like 3:00 in the afternoon. And there was like guys by themselves eating like a full like roast beef dinner and having like a beer and like cutting their steak or their beef or whatever it is and watching this. Like, it must have been like her 18th birthday was earlier that day. And I was just like, I feel disgusting. And then she did some weird spin thing, and she's wearing these like 12-inch like lucite clear heels. And then she like totally wrecked her ankle and hit the ground and just started weeping. And I look around, and the music's still going. It's like Cherry Pie by Warrant or whatever the fuck it is. And the guys didn't stop eating their meal, and they just stared at her while she's weeping. And they're like, "What, are you going to get up?" And I'd be like, "Hey, can somebody help her?" And then like a bouncer came out and just carried her off stage while she was like sobbing.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
It was pretty bad. And just this like
Monty's
55-year-old guy just eating nachos, staring at this young girl crying on the ground.
As a general overall thought, this podcast has been really depressing. There's been a lot of downers.
Yeah. So I have a transition into a positive thing, and I like to identify my transitions.
We do our uppers now. Yay.
Yay. So now, Jen, this is going to be weird, and Ryan too, because it's going to put you on the spot to tell us how cool we are. Out of all the stuff that we've made that you've seen, has there been anything you're like, oh, that's pretty cool, actually? Because a lot of stuff we make is for clients, so it wouldn't actually be for you guys. But stuff that's come out, you're like, oh, I'm kind of glad that I'm with him because he's not a complete moron.
You probably haven't seen a lot of what I've done anyways.
No, but recently you did show me a really amazing website, and I think you were just really proud of it. So
Which one?
The one for that clothing company.
Oh, right.
Because you made this cool like transition, and you were just really proud of it. You showed me a bunch. I think you wanted some compliments.
Nope.
But now he would love some.
I don't go fishing.
Wow.
But I like
if
what I
I went
caught.
to that website as just me not knowing that you made it, I would think it was a very extraordinary website.
So there we go. That's the coolest thing ever made.
An extraordinary website.
Yeah.
That's nice, though. I think that's lovely. That's wonderful.
It's nice that she didn't have to search. Like, he's like, oh shit, what's he made? Did I like any of it? She had an answer like immediately.
Yeah, that was a client that I kind of went on a limb and pitched them an idea for a menu system that I've never seen before. And they went for it, and our rad developers made it happen, and yeah, it worked out.
Cool.
Yeah, not the easiest to work with, but that's what you get for creativity.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's a big idea, but good luck using it.
have fun, developer.
So this is weird for me to ask you.
Well,
but-
you obviously know already.
But we don't.
Oh, yeah, I do.
So, yeah, for my birthday, I got James Murphy from LCD Sound System was coming to do a DJ set
Name
at
drop.
Riffland, and Matt got to do a poster for it, and he made the most amazing poster. It's James Murphy ripped in half, spinning records like in his midsection, and it's fucking beautiful. And James Murphy actually signed it for me, and it was the best present that I've ever got. And I'm gonna start to cry even thinking about it. I love you.
And thank you to, and I think we mentioned them on every show so far, but thank you to Phillips Beer, because the DJ set and the big that evening of concerts were at the brewery, like this, like in behind there's a huge like
Backyard.
parking lot and where they do all the malt works, and it's just huge, and they have music festivals back there. So I knew some people at the brewery. I went, I said, is there any way after the set that you could slide this to him and get him to sign it. And the guy I asked was a huge LCD sound system fan. He's like, if you have 2 of those posters, then yes. I was like, yes, I do have 2 of them. And I gave them to him and then went back the next day. And yeah, James Murphy signed on his stomach that I drew. And at that point, LCD sound system had retired.
Yeah. They weren't going to come back, but now they're back and we have tickets.
Yeah.
Yay.
So at that point, like nobody had heard from him really for like 6 months. So it was like I drew a thing where it's like he hadn't shaved and a bunch of him was like beaten up and like he's all bandaged up and he had like hospital bracelets on and stuff. And all right. So I did make something. I thought you were going to have to like give me a polite answer, not a real answer.
That's a real answer.
Remember, I made something specifically for you and got one of your favorite musicians to sign it. All right.
Speaking on the topic of Philips, Jen sent me a link to their engineering blueprints or their architectural drafts of their new tasting room that they're building.
Because I'm a snoop.
And, well, they're public somewhere, obviously.
Yeah.
On the city website.
The sign that they're making for the corner of it made me think of like Batman Returns style, like kind of Gotham.
Val Kilmer one?
No, that's the
that's
Michael
It was
Keaton.
Batman Forever.
That's a Penguin one, yeah.
The building is a bit Art Deco,
No.
so the sign suits it.
Batman Returns is a Penguin one.
Yeah. It's still, not Burt Reynolds. God damn it.
Burt Bacharach.
Who directed it?
Debbie Reynolds. And Tim Burton.
Tim Burton.
Jesus.
Yeah, close enough.
I can see how you
same
went
guy.
there, though.
They both
No
have
offense.
mustaches. They don't. But the sign on it, it's using their, like, the eagle. But yeah, it just looks very Art Deco, Batman Returns, Gotham. It looks really awesome.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
But it's bright blue, so.
We'll put the link
That makes sense.
on the old show notes.
Yeah, and we should see if we can get a sneak peek of anything in there too. Because we
Oh,
know a few folks. Down there.
we know some people. We can name drop.
Go ahead.
Sean O'Keefe.
Yep.
Sean O'Keefe.
Shauna Keefe. Yeah.
The Dobbles.
Yep. And we were hanging out with Chris the other night. Stu's punk band was playing, so we went and saw them. And Chris had a funny story. He was at a wedding on Saturday night, and he got a call from one of the sales reps, and they're like, "Hey, there's a problem with the sign you guys made from last year." And it was like it was a whatever thing. And then he had to. They stayed at the wedding and had a few too many, and then he had to get up and get to the shop at like 8 a.m. on a Sunday and fix the sign. And then he had to walk it down to the seaplane. And Matt Phillips, the owner of the brewery, was right there. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm putting the sign on the plane because they're taking it to Vancouver for this brewing festival." And then it was kind of cool. The owner of the brewery actually carried the sign into Vancouver from there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It'd actually be cool to have Matt Phillips on one day because design and like the aesthetic has always been such a huge part of everything they do. Everything's just like, it's like if like a punk concert and the circus like joined up and just like never stopped making stuff. It'd be cool to understand why that was so important to him early on.
Yeah, and he's, as per Sean, he's still involved with every label, every piece that goes on, which is always good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. So that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I have one more question, and I think it's going to be interesting because I have no idea what Ryan would say. And I obviously have no idea what Jen would say. But if knowing us now at this point in our lives where we're kind of half broken down and we just work and sometimes we have a good day and sometimes we have a bad day, and you've seen us be designers for a long time. If design wasn't an option anymore, if it was outlawed for whatever reason, what would be the perfect job for us? If you could pick our jobs for us, if design wasn't going to happen anymore.
Jen, you have to go first.
Because I thought about it for us. I have no clue. It actually it stressed me out to think about it.
I've got a couple ideas.
Can you repeat the question? I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Can't plead
No.
the fifth.
I feel like he would have to be doing something creative, like maybe be a woodworker or building like motorcycles or something.
Just shaking the sawdust
Even
out
though
of the
he,
beard
like-
at the end of the day.
Absolutely doesn't do either of those things.
Yeah, our townhouse doesn't really facilitate a wood shop
No, but I just feel
or a
like
motorcycle garage.
Make your own toothpicks.
those
Toilet
are
paper.
things that I could envision you doing in another life.
Who knows? Maybe in this life.
Well, I know that it could be a thing if we could afford a house in Victoria.
Nobody can afford a house in Victoria.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, because Marcus, what would you say would be an option for you?
Those are pretty good options.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking welding.
Yeah.
Oh, that could work
Yeah.
too.
Because some days you have those thoughts like, man, I'd really like to be out of a chair
Yeah.
and be outside all day. But then I did that. I spent some time with BC Parks, and I was outside all day, and that was a lot of fun being outside in nature, and not sitting down except for in a golf cart to go clean campsites.
Yeah, but
Oh, that would be such a fun job.
No, it's not.
Oh, that sounds fun to me.
Well,
I want that
the
job.
golf cart and the outside
Okay.
sounds like fun. The cleaning campsite sounds
Cleaning
like
up
shit.
after loser campers who don't clean up their own campsite and finding happy accidents in the outhouses from the night before.
Never mind. I forgot about
Yeah.
outhouses. Never
Yeah.
mind. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Ryan, what about you?
Male
Well,
prostitute.
this is pretty obvious.
I don't know if it is because I couldn't think of anything.
But I'm allowed to wish for anything,
Oh, yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
there's I have the whole multiverse to choose from, right?
Yep.
So your body's all the way better and you're a professional skateboarder.
That would be good.
Is this
You're-
just your wish list? Of
Yeah,
everyone?
it really is.
Okay.
He
Yeah, my
just had
knees
knee surgery
crashed.
and he loves skateboarding more than anything. So my dream job for Matt is professional skateboarder who also has his own clothing line doing screen printing.
And is hella rich.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's hella rich. I just want him to be happy.
I never would have thought
You're
of that.
gonna
'cause-
dream about it. Dream big.
No.
Yeah. And then 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I just got the word from the doctor. He's like, yeah, nothing we did is helping you. Do you want to start experimenting? I said, sure. So they're going to take blood out of my body and put stuff in it and then put it back in.
Yeah.
And he's like, it might not work. I'm like, cool. But yeah, professional skateboarder.
Professional
would be
skateboarder,
fantastic.
but also still going ahead with what we can still potentially do is doing a clothing line.
Yeah.
I want to do a clothing line.
Well, I started one already.
I know.
I'll make you a logo for your own. I started my own because I don't want any creative input from anybody. It's like after doing clothes or client work for so long, it's like I want to do a thing where I come up with 100% of everything. And if people like it, cool. If they don't like it, then they don't like the thing that I thought of, and that's fine. There's a clothing company out of the Netherlands, I believe. It's called Turbo Color. It's a color with a K. And there's this guy, he's an artist and he did a bunch of skate graphics and all that. And he's worked for other companies. He decided, I'm making my own clothing company and I'm doing 100% of all the shit. And it all looks super, super cool. And if anybody else touched it, then it wouldn't be his thing and it would lose all the effect. Like on with Mike Giant, who's one of my, I'm looking at one of his pictures right over your head. We'll post a link to Mike Giant stuff if you don't know who he is, because he's my favorite artist on the planet. But he worked with a clothing company called Rebel 8. And I have a bunch of Rebel 8 shirts and he would draw all the graphics and it looked awesome. And then one year, I think the fall season came out and everything looked weird. And I found out that he actually left the company and they hired another artist to try and mimic his style, but it just felt wrong because he had this he had a take on stuff that I had never seen before and it looked awesome. And then watching somebody who's probably an awesome artist in their own right doing an impression of that person, it just felt weird. So it would be, you're totally right in that me having as another job, even just a t-shirt company or something where I could just draw all day and make stuff and put it on a shirt, physically put it onto, that would be fun for me.
Yeah, it would be super fun and I would like to help too. And we can enlist the children to help as well.
Slave labor
Yeah, it's free
for
though.
the children. Yeah. It's even better than in sweatshops. We don't have to pay these guys at all.
At all. Totally legal in
That's why
Canada.
you have kids.
What's
Move
really,
to Canada. Slave labor is free.
what's really funny though is that
Oh boy.
both of our alternatives, if you couldn't design anymore, what would you do? Both of the things that we're kind of gravitating towards are really easy to get into.
Yeah. Well, they do require the skill, which takes time, but
Well, so did doing what we do now.
Well, for you guys specifically, I think.
It's not I want to be an Olympic swimmer. It's the Budweiser Corporation said no to that years ago because you didn't take care of yourself and you're 37.
I think what Marcus is saying is Jen and I couldn't do it tomorrow. Both of the things that
No.
yeah.
I think what he's saying is that there's a big learning curve because it's a skill. And
There's trade schools for that.
I don't think we could
It's
do
also
it.
the internet for
Not
a lot of things,
skateboarding.
too.
No.
You ever heard of YouTube? Free school.
You know, skateboarding's trade school. I love that.
Yeah, Kickflip University. But yeah, those were. I thought that was. Thank you for the skateboarding thing because I didn't think of that at all.
Really?
And no, I didn't because it's just like, well, my body doesn't work as well anywhere near what it used to, and skateboarding's really gnarly now. And 18-year-olds are doing stuff that nobody's done before, so I would be broken. But it would be fun. If I could do like the old Konami code and do like invincibility or whatever, then I would gladly do that. If you just like huck yourself down, whatever.
That's
and not
actually
get broken.
disorder where you can't feel pain.
Oh, that no, was
that
that
would
just
be
in
a
Deadpool?
cool
So it's kind of invincibility.
Totally,
You still get like broken, but
Yeah.
you just can't feel the pain.
That's
Yeah.
so funny. We just we
How's that
hired a
funny?
developer.
It's really sad.
It's not funny. You're right. It's actually not funny at all. You're right. But we just hired a developer who stopped skateboarding because he didn't have the ability to just turn the pain off, and so he would get to the edge of like.
Well, he said
Yeah.
he, like a lot of people that have been skating for a while, you stop hucking yourself off of shit, and
Yeah.
you start like, hey, that 18-inch high ledge looks pretty good for me. Like
He
if
was
I
like-
fall, it's a short fall to the ground. Well, that's kind of like design too. Like,
Yeah.
I feel I take less chances than I used to with stuff, and then I have to be like, oh shit, like with the next project, you should really like huck yourself down the stairs because you're not going to get hurt, but you start getting used to like, well, I do ledge tricks or I ride pools or whatever. And then you stop looking at the stuff that you're going to get broken on. But there's no like physical pain in it for us. Like the graphic I did for last week's show with all the dogs pissing on stuff. I used to do collage stuff all the time because it's super fun. And I hadn't done it for, I don't know, 7-8 years. And I decided I wanted to do one. And I was like, well, that was fun. I didn't forget how to do it. And then I started thinking about how it could apply to like client work. So it's like once in a while you gotta like huck yourself off something. And if it doesn't work, I mean, pixels are free essentially, so we can just like trash that.
It's so funny though, because I'm the one who has to huck myself off of the stairs all the time. And so I'm the one who's balancing in between the guy hucking himself off the stairs and the person who's like, oh shit.
I think Kramer said it best that, oh, nobody disturbed the delicate genius.
Yeah.
He's talking about the maestro. Oh no, now I'm doubting myself. Anyway,
No, don't doubt yourself. You're lovely.
Nobody
Is
looked
what I
that up.
have to say.
no, I can't remember. It's gonna drive me nuts. That was good. It could have gone really bad. We could have ended up like everyone could have been bummed out on the ride home. But I think that was nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you have anything cool from the internet? I do.
I do.
All right. What's it? Okay. Segment begin. What's it called?
Hobo bag stick. I couldn't think of anything. You know the thing that the little.
It's called a bindle.
Oh, okay. You would know, of course.
How do you know that?
I know. I didn't know how he
really-
knew that either. He
I'm really
taught
into
the kids
hobo culture.
that. No, seriously, our kids walk around with bindles all the time.
Yeah. They're like,
And
Dad,
I was
I made a hobo bindle, and they put like toys in it, and they walk around
I was like, what the fuck is that?
just riding the
We
rails.
would have just called it a hobo stick.
Just
Yeah.
eating from a tin can with your shoes that have the front like floppy.
Just got a barrel fire in the living room.
Also,
So what did you say? You said hobo bag stick?
oh,
Yeah.
wait. You didn't
I
let
rem-
Jen say goodbye yet.
No, we're not saying goodbye yet.
Oh, okay,
You
go
can-
on.
you guys can leave if you want. We have a little more to do.
Okay.
When you said hobo bag stick, it reminded me of that scene in Bad Santa when the kid sits on his lap. He's like, "What do you want?" He's like, "Fraggle stick car." He goes, "The fuck is a Fraggle stick car? Get out of here!"
You fucking.
That's our Christmas movie, and it's awful.
It's everyone's Christmas movie.
It should be.
Yeah. So Fraggle stick car.
Is I found this site today, and they do weekly visual essays, and I know that sounds very riveting. But the website's called Pudding, or oh my god,
Oh no.
Pudding?
Pudding.
Jen, if you could just read that for him, that would be better.
I just had a
Pudding.
feeling that's what it said.
Pudding pudding.cool. So they got the cool domain.
Yeah. That's cool.
Don't be afraid of that terrible domain name. But so an example of some of their stuff, it's like reading through a lecture, but with really fun little visual aids to it. So the ones I looked at today were like gave you a breakdown of female superheroes compared to male superheroes and like how their powers were different and which weighed in one or the other, and then broke down like how they're named compared to each other. And that was really interesting because all of them had these little pixel graphics, and then they were all animated. And then what else? I like one that talked about like which rapper has the biggest vocabulary on his albums. And so like it has these really interactive graphs with lots of pictures and things you can click on, but there's so much data on them.
Who was it? I need to know.
It was Aesop Rock.
Oh,
That makes
And
sense.
the lowest was DMX.
He just barks, so that makes sense as well.
The difference between DMX and Aesop Rock was I think it was like 6,000 words. So
That's like a whole language.
yeah. So it's a huge gap. But as you like scroll through these essays, there's so many like interactive points and things that move, and it just makes reading data that people have compiled super interesting to look at and to read. I definitely recommend it.
That does sound actually genuinely interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like smart pop-up books for dumb people.
It's absolutely that.
Oh, I love it already.
I'm going to look at it.
I'm gonna look at it too. That
No,
sounds really.
it's just for us.
Never mind. Apparently, it's just
I'm
for men.
taking it down tonight because I made the internet.
Damn it.
You're the one who gave it to him.
So do you want to repeat the domain before I move on to mine?
Pudding.cool.
Not pudding?
.Cosby.
No, you really have to spell it because, like, I have no idea.
Are you like saying pudding? Like pudding
Pudding
snacks?
pops.
Like a-
Pudding, like P-U-D-D.
Okay.
The pudding.
Seriously, in high school, we called.
Was that a
There's a
comedy
number on pudding packages that you can call, and we called it because we were really high, obviously, and we asked if it was okay to call them pudding pops instead of pudding pops, and the lady on the phone had to actually consult her manager and come back and give us the answer, and it is okay to call them pudding pops. So go ahead, pudding pops.
Wow.
Why would you call them anything else?
I don't know.
Well, that's drugs, kids. Do them.
Don't.
You ever watch-
Please don't.
You can have
Ever-
that level of fun.
Did any of your kids?
It was fun. It was super fun.
Do any of your kids eat the pudding cups
Snack packs.
Without vegan,
without
we
a,
don't eat those.
without a spoon because it's
Gelatin?
disgusting?
No, we don't buy it. It's shit. We eat good food.
We buy them different shit.
No, you can make it like chia pudding and shit.
I know. Yeah.
It's a pet. Chia is a pet. You can't eat that if you're vegan.
It's a seed
Chia pet.
that makes a plant.
It grows from the chia plant.
Yeah, I saw.
Is chia vegan? Because
No, it is vegan.
You
You're
can
fine.
stare into Garfield's eyes and start feasting on his hide. You're an animal.
Yeah.
So my Fraggle stick car.
Oh, I forgot we were talking still.
Well, we are. You can kick back if you like.
Okay.
It's probably not new to a lot of people and not super useful unless you have an iPad Pro. But AstroPad, what it is it turns your iPad Pro into basically a Wacom or Wacom, whatever you say. It looks like Wacom to me. A lot of people always be like, it's actually Wacom. I'm like, well, I don't.
whack 'em.
People that look into it and have to like be on support or something, they have to listen to the recorded message. And Wacom or Wacom, you always fuck up your drivers. And the other day I updated and none of my keyboard shortcuts in Illustrator would work. It took me half a day to figure it out. And I rolled back to the previous driver of Wacom, Wacom, whatever. And then everything worked again. So fuck you. AstroPad's better. Basically, oh, it's true. This episode is not brought to you by Wacom.
Clearly not.
No. But AstroPad, you can connect via Wi-Fi. I prefer to do the cord because there's less latency with it. Actually, there's zero latency with it. And what you can do is, what are you laughing at?
Because latency is the wrong word. Sorry, hon.
No, it's a drag. There's a delay.
I wasn't laughing.
All right, English major.
This is all right.
Tell me what words are.
It's the right word.
Just say delay. It's not latency.
It is late. Yeah,
It's
anyway. So, well, this has been fun. So what it does is you can resize your Illustrator, Photoshop, whatever window on your computer so it fits perfectly inside of your iPad Pro. It works as a drawing tablet. So if you do it via Wi-Fi, you can actually sit, across the room from your computer and you can draw using all your brushes. pressure sensitivity, all that. We subscribe to AstroPad Studio, which gets you more features. I think it's like $7 a month or something. It's really cheap for what you get. And it's the kind of thing that I love using it so much. And with a lot of the projects we've had in the past 6 months, I haven't had a lot of cause to use it. But when I used it last week, and I think I used it for our episode 2 graphic as well, it's just, you can do so much with it and you forget that it's there. But it's really, compared to the first version of AstroPad, this one, AstroPad 2 is just, it's so slick, and all the menus are customizable depending on what app you're in and all that. So it's super cool. If you go to astropad.com/studio, you can see the one that we use. And yeah, it's, you can buy an iPad Pro for, how much are they? $1,200? Something like that. And
but I mean, the Wacom,
it's like
24-inch, whatever they make for the video. Those are like $2-3 grand, depending on where you live.
And the thing with those is that they are also not an iPad that you can carry around and do other stuff with. I also use the iPad Pro with Adobe Draw. Adobe has a really good free suite of products that you can have on the iPad Pro. It's all pressure sensitive and all that. But I'd say if you're on the fence whether to get a Wacom or Wacom, Cintiq or whatever it is, fuck, it drives.
I'm siding with Marcus. I think it's Wacom.
I love saying both because I'm always Cintiq?
Yeah, Cintiq.
No, it's not.
If you're weighing whether you should get the iPad Pro or if you should get the Wacom, the big thing, which is a pain in the ass to move around, and there's no computer also inside of it.
It only runs Windows too.
That's the one that is they have one that's like a proprietary tablet computer. It's like a 13-inch one, but you can get like the 24-inch big tablet for all the drawing stuff, but it has to be hooked up to a computer. The beautiful thing about AstroPad is that your computer can be across the room and it'll still work great. But if you're not around a computer at all, then you can use the iPad Pro with the Adobe stuff to draw whatever you want. So this is actually turning into a recommendation for iPad Pro with AstroPad.
There you go.
So check out the links on the site. What did everybody think about the show? Everybody looks ready to be done.
No, I just...
Jen's furious.
Well, it wasn't as awkward as I thought, so thank you.
Yeah.
I had more fun than I thought I would.
And I'm guessing this will be one that you won't listen to?
Definitely not.
Yay.
And what about you, my lady?
I'm really angry. We'll talk about it after.
No, I got work to do. But thank you, everybody, for listening again. We're hour and 45. Pretty good. We have extra time in the day now.
That's a short one by our standards.
Yeah. And for some reason, every time we record, we feel like we have to remake The Godfather. But thank you for listening. Go to designersoftheworst.com and check out the show notes and look at old episodes. You can subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and SoundCloud, all from there. You can go to all the social media things that we are on at Worst Design Show. Let us know if the show is awful, decent, good. Any suggestions? We really don't care. We'd like any feedback at this point. I've heard positive feedback from like 3 people, but that means there's probably 9 people that hate it that I know. So, hit us up on there and talk to us. But thank you, everybody, for being on the show today. I know it was weird.
Thank you, everyone.
We talk normally, but now that we're wearing like mechanical equipment and talking into what appears to be robot penises, it's much more awkward. And everybody's just realizing that now.
Glad you said that now and not before.
Yes. Well, I always say hoo-hoo, so I say hoo-hoo.
You always say, oh yeah, Ryan always, normally you can hear her shaking her head disapprovingly from the couch.
I'm not disapproving.
Well, I'm disapproving. But thanks everybody. Remember, making pictures for a living isn't that bad, and if you think it is, then you're the worst. Bye.